Hello. So I've been thinking about this for like a month, right? And I'm like, what do I deal with? And I had to look inside myself, and I'd say to all the men in the room, especially, anger. Anger is the thing that I deal with, and I'll talk about like where my anger comes from. But genuinely, it's a life shortener, and it's not just anger, but it's the emotions we feel. Their soil, and it's what comes from them. And so I've learned to turn that anger into positivity. But my anger, we were talking at the table earlier about one of the questions. It stems from identity, and being a Black American, a Black man who we have all this, we have all these former leaders. And they spoke of what we needed to do to make this country better. And then being an American and hearing about these rights, these liberties, and all these things that we should have. And one aspect of myself is supposed to hold the other accountable, and to find a lack of consistency and trying to find that consistency in the world between the two has resulted in an anger. But we're not trapped to that, and we don't owe ourselves to that. So finding a way to be myself that is not devoid of anger, because sometimes that anger is so necessary. But just not letting it kill you, and knowing that your identity isn't predetermined, and we're working it out as we're going along. You're not confined to any way of being that was before you. Honestly, we're in the midst of making so many different ways to be alive right now. And like, speaking of like fathers and, the men we look up to in our lives, my father was silent, Devani knows my dad's quiet. And like when I was younger, me and he were walking to the barbershop, and this is a funny story. Cause this is my dad, and hand to God. I told my mom, I don't think, father likes me. And I'm like 7, and she tells my dad that I said that. So, and I'm like, that's not what you're supposed to do. But he decides to take me to the barbershop, 2GC at the time, and we're walking, and I swear he gave me the speech from Fences before it came out. And he goes, I don't need to like you, He goes, I got my clothes on your back, all that stuff. But I've learned that was his love language. So dealing with not being way more talkative than my father, and also, sometimes sitting in silence, and balancing myself. I don't need to absolutely be my dad to live up to his name. And sometimes I got to figure out who I am through mistakes, and I won't let that kill me. And I hope, men, anger is a life shortener. We can't stay angry. We got to do something about it.